Everyone gets knocked down from time to time as the choice whether to give up or get up. Getting up and gathering the strength and desire to try again is resilience. Spiritual living helps me build it. Claiming divine ideas in prayer, engaging the power of my imagination to envision my success, and using my wisdom and will to discern the best way forward and choose it, all help me be resilient in the face of defeat or discouragement. Through the power of the Christ within, I'm willing to keep trying until I succeed. I understand setbacks happen to everyone. I do not let them deter me or take a failed effort personally. I need to use that word again. Or take a failed effort personally. I am strong and capable of doing what I set my mind to. I am resilient. Let's all say that together. I am resilient. Keep alert, stand firm in your faith, be courageous, be strong. From 1 Corinthians 16:13.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm grateful to be here with you this morning. So will you join me in an affirmative consciousness? This is a statement of being. It's a way of being. It's a mindset. But we may need to be resilient and pick ourselves up. So let's affirm our statement of being. God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. I am an individual expression of God. I am ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. So it is. So if you are new to the whole experience of meditation, we've been holding that up in unity for over 100 years, a long time. It's a way of quietness, a way of beingness. And I invite us to consider that as we become silent, and as I shut my mouth, I don't use a lot of words, we can really be with the mystical silence that is woven in and through all of creation. So let's enjoy this rest. O that which we call God, O thou of many names, and thou of no name. May my words be words that serve. May I and we truly release what we're holding on to. Release into the power and that presence that is always at work, unfailing, unwavering. restore, to renew, to reinvigorate, to guide and to direct us right here and right now. When we do this together, we rest, we become quiet and listen, we are watchful, we trust, we sustain a faith that there is an activity that is at work as us. I give thanks for the activity of Spirit, the activity of God, working in me and through me and as me, working in us, through us, and as us. Together we go into this now, knowing that God is unfailing. This activity is unfailing to reveal our way. Thank you, God. So it is. On behalf of all the water, the earth, the air, living creatures, dedicated to those that are hurting and suffering, hungry, imprisoned. May this experience and this consciousness serve as we go forward. Amen. Amen. So it is.
appreciate this ministry, as I always do. I was originally, I think, all those years ago, invited to come over. It was a time of change of leadership here in the ministry. And I've been with you along on the journey through a few changes, actually. I want to appreciate the ministry and the fact that you've created now new ministry leadership with the spiritual leader, April Ellenberg. And I want to appreciate that choice to create leadership as a ministry for a variety of reasons. And I serve as the president for the Great Lakes Unity Region. Some of you may know that. So I've shifted from serving a ministry full-time to now I think about ministries in 8 states. The board and I, we really think about our ministries and what we can do to be of support to ministries. And so what you've created here is something that I call homegrown leadership. So you have applied for a special dispensation so that you could work with a leader who's in a training program. And both the leader, April, and the ministry will have their work to do. You'll have your paperwork to fill out, you got all the things. And that's that way of holding hands with the ministry. It is growing leadership. And what you may not realize is something that I have familiarity with, having served in churches for about 38 years. You're going to have all kinds of different views about that new leader, won't you? Some of you are really ready and you're all excited, and some of you are wondering and questioning. I know one ministry I was hired for, the board president went out and literally almost kicked the tires. You know, what kind of leader is this? What kind of car does she have? She's driving a long distance. Now all these questions, there's a great mystery ahead. Of course there is. And the good news is that we're all working together. And we're all working together for unity. And that's something that I have done for many, many years now, is serve for the purpose of unity. Not just the name with a capital U, but this could be a center amongst leaders where we come together and purposefully work for unity with a lowercase u, right? Our statement of social action now for Unity Worldwide Ministries has a phrase in it that we are about purposeful inclusivity. I'm really for that. I believe that this symbol here that we used in Unity for a long time says it best. You see, this circle right here is a globe, really. It's a sphere. It's meant really to talk about unity and the interdependence of all life is how we experience it. And we give wings to that with our spiritual practices. That's what we're about. You may not also realize that you have an amazing opportunity to be together and grow the leadership in this wonderful person that you have hired. And having been a minister at the young age of 30 and been with the ministry, I can tell you that over the years I have learned that it's true at no matter what age, it is what we create together and the learning that we create together that grows the leadership. So you may want a minister that has tires that are really holed up in the winter. But we also know that we work together. We're unfolding the consciousness. And so what you have here is the wonderful opportunity to work with one of our newest leaders who's in training. And I'm just so grateful that we are together in all of this and that we continue to have our doors open. I think the reason I missed the program, I was so excited because Wade back there gave me this beautiful picture of a great blue heron, a picture that Wade took. And I usually bring another picture with me, and it's of children hugging a tree on the land that Matthew and I call home. And I bring these to our attention because when I come to share with you, I like to remember that what we create together, we can dedicate it for the well-being of others, right? We can dedicate our energy, the fact that we got up, and some of you are going to watch later, whatever it is, but we're taking time to really ask ourselves how we can live a life spiritually. And we're really nurturing and learning how to have a spiritual program to meet life. And today's topic is on getting unstuck. And I didn't come up with those words all by myself. Those words came to me through a Buddhist teacher by the name of Pema Chodron. So if you're familiar with Pema,
and the inspiration and the presence that she has brought to so many of us that really have turned to meditation, right? That have learned that meditation is a great spiritual tool to practice oneness and consciousness and unity. I love this work that she does called Getting Unstuck. And the reason that I find it very potent for us today is because on any particular day of the week, I can wake up and find myself really dealing with a lot in life, and I know that you do too. And you know, you can feel kind of stuck in a mood. You ever woke up with a mood? Anybody ever wake up in a mood? Yeah. Mood, you know what I'm talking about? In my household, they knew when Mom was in a mood. I didn't even have to say anything. They could feel it. The kids knew it, right? What's that expression? Hell hath no fury but the wrath of maybe, I don't know what it is. But you know what it was like when your dads were in the mood too, right? You know, dads are a little more difficult kind of provoke. A good thing, because when they get in the mood, ooh, what kind of wrath is that? I don't know. I saw my dad throw a cat out of the store one time. A cat out of the store was like, I was a little girl, like, wow, that's, you know, it was almost traumatic. You know what a mood is. So getting unstuck is really understanding ourselves and that we deal with impermanence. This is what kind of children would say. Nothing is static. Nothing is solid. And that we constantly deal with an unease with that. And there's an old ancient word that she discovered through her spiritual teachers called Shenpa. Shenpa is really best, it's not really describable, she says, but think of it as stickiness, or if you've ever had a scratch, like I was at a session yesterday out in the Livingston, we were outdoors, I came home with mosquito bites, and, you know, like, it's like a scratch that won't stop. You just compulsively scratch. It's that part of self that's constantly dealing with unease, and when I'm in the mood, when we're in the mood, you know what that feels like. So how do we work with that? That's what I want to explore with us today, right? I want to explore what we can do with some of the unease of our time. Because I, like you, am dealing with some of all of what we're all dealing with. And I can tell you that I woke up in a mood today. I woke up in a mood, and it was kind of coming on as I was getting close to this particular Sunday service. And in part, it was some things that had happened through the week, and some of those were just like life, like getting the house painted, you know, and now we're in the chaos of painting the house. I mean, just it's stressful. But part of the reason that I was in the mood this morning is because I find it increasingly difficult to know how to be with the spiritual communities that I visit, how to address the issues of our time, and how to do it in a consciousness of unity. Because that's what we're about. And it's easy to have an opinion. I got an opinion. Do you have a few opinions about things going on? Yeah, right? And you can almost feel that energy and the bias and everything that goes with it, and the upset, the angst, the wrath, everything else. And how do we do that? How do we address the things that are going on in the context of our time so that we're not doing spiritual bypassing? How do we deal with the unease? How do we deal with the stickiness and the messiness of it? At our dinner table on Friday night, a couple of friends that are newer to us, we were having this kind of conversation. And I said, you know, what we've got to really do is we've got to study the people that stood forth and became leaders in the context of their time, like a Martin Luther King Jr. Study nonviolence, study Gandhi, study the leaders that began to realize that there is a way to work with injustice. And it doesn't matter what political party you are a part of. It does not really matter the opinions we have, because we are designed in the image and after the likeness of that which we call God. And that which we call God is oneness. And we've been holding that up in unity all these years. At some point, we will revisit all those hymns, and we will take the pronouns out, and we will start finding the language that really speaks to oneness and not separateness, increasingly so. So I found some words for us this morning that I share to you, with you, as we journey together and we ask ourselves how we address the unease, the shenpa, the stickiness of our experience right now, today, in our country, in our world. These words come to us from a man, John Lewis. John Lewis was a congressman. He made a choice. He was a prominent civil rights leader who made a choice, if you listen to his, you can find YouTube videos on him, to go into government, not shy away from it, but to go into the political fray of it all. And this is what he had to say in the last book that he authored. That book is called Across the Bridge. He said, "You are light. You are the light. Never let anyone, any person, or any force dampen, dim, or diminish your light. Study the path of others to make your way easier and more abundant. Lean toward the whispers of your own heart. Discover the universal truth and follow its dictates. Release the need to hate, to harbor division, and the enticement of revenge. Release all bitterness. Hold only love, only peace in your heart, knowing that the battle of good to overcome evil is already won. Choose confrontation wisely. But when it is your time, don't be afraid to stand up, and speak out about injustice and against injustice. And if you follow your truth down the road to peace and the affirmation of love, if you shine like a beacon for all to see, then the poetry of all the great dreamers and philosophers is yours to manifest in a nation, a world community, and a beloved community that is finally at peace with itself. Can you feel that? Okay. So we have the inspiration, we have the guidance, we have the actual image and likeness of God to assist us in dealing with that which is sticky, messy, heavy, that lives within us. And we can get unstuck over and over and over again in all those moves. And I was thinking about the story about somebody that got unstuck. It's a familiar story to you if you've studied any of the life and the teachings of Jesus. And this story of a man, he's considered to be a paralytic. He's had an issue somehow, some paralysis for what is recorded in the book of John, chapter 5. 38 years this guy has had some kind of physical issue, right? And the story goes like this, that he's come to a place of healing. It's the pool of Bethesda. And that actually translates as a place of mercy, a place of healing and mercy. It's beautiful, the language here. And he's waiting. And the people of the time all kind of have this thing they know about it. And the waters in that pool will move sometimes, and they think of it as an angel. Something moves those waters, something spiritual moves those waters, and that if you get into the waters, and you get in when they're moving, a healing can happen. And I know, I've got people in my life right now, I want their healing. I tell you, I want their healing. And I would go to a pool. I'd do it, right? Who wouldn't do this if you heard about something like that? But this is waiting, and Jesus comes to this pool, and this is the story that's written down.
And he goes up to the man. There's a big point in John about the fact that it's the Sabbath. And you think of the Jewish people, it's a very precious time, a special time, a day of the week you set aside where you just really, you don't cook, there's all these laws and everything else that go with it. You really make an effort to put your attention on God and to know that as your wholeness, right? Your wholeness. And so Jesus goes to the man and he says, do you want to be well? And that can translate as cured, but it also, probably more in the Aramaic, do you want to be whole? Do you want to be whole? Wholeness. Okay? And the man says, yes, of course. But, yes, but. I don't have anybody to help me to get to that pool, and I can't get there fast enough, and the water was stirred up. Now, that little portion, just that I've described to you, is just held up over and over and over again. It's discussed, it's looked at upside down, backwards, metaphysically, you name it. It's powerful, it's inspiring. The man is there, he hears these words from Jesus, who doesn't talk to him about getting him to the pool fast enough. He says, pick up your mat and walk. And the man does this and he's healed. Okay? Wow. Powerful. But when you look all this up, you can see all the scholars, they could just ad nauseum, was it really the Sabbath? First of all. Like, who cares? The guy healed. And then, we get into the metaphysics of it and how we can apply and yes, say yes to life. Say, get up, get up, get going, get moving. Great. But we've missed the bulk of that chapter if that's all we focus on. And I hope you go home and look it up. Because actually what happens right after the guy is healed is that the people are there, kind of almost like a mob mentality, and they go up to the guy and they say, you've broken the law. You've picked up your mat. That's working. So the writer of this doesn't focus on the guy's healing as much as what's going on in the mindset around him. Where was the mercy? Where was the compassion to bring this guy to the water? And then the fact that he's healed and there's nothing included in the story that anybody even celebrated. Would you? I would. Oh my gosh. I'd be letting everybody know on Facebook. My friend was healed. But this is a different culture and a different mindset, but it is not so very different from what we face today. And last night, at this wonderful gathering for my wonderful people in my life, Unity Minister Greg Bowles, whose husband John McMahon made his transition, and we were there for the second celebration of life service, and that was beautiful. And we're sitting at a dinner table and talking to John's brother, Michael, and niece. And the niece said, well, I didn't go to the celebration in Florida, where John passed on, because when my girlfriend traveled down to Florida and had a miscarriage and went into the hospital, they wouldn't treat her. They wouldn't give her medication even. That's rough. That is really difficult. Because I know there were nurses in that hospital that were hurting too. But there was a lot of fear there about caring and having compassion for a person in pain and suffering. So we have to just get it that we are dealing with injustices right now that have blocked and clouded the heart of compassion. We have to accept this. And then as we accept this, perhaps we will be like Jesus and we will step into the fray and we will go ahead like that worker, I believe it was at McDonald's, we read about this a few years ago, who leaves the store, goes out into the parking lot, he breaks the rules, and he goes and helps the person out there that needs 911. Do you remember this story? He got fired for it, and there was such an outcry that actually he got rehired. But he broke the rules.
And it takes a lot of heart courage, right, to break the rules so that compassion and mercy can get through. And so, friends, the other part of the gospel right there is that the mob then turns on Jesus and they threaten to kill him because he has had the audacity to act like God. And he has healed a man on the Sabbath. Do you hear that mindset? Like, really? Like, we don't think twice about doing dishes on the Sabbath. How many of us even practice Sabbath? The truest meaning of the Sabbath. You see, we can barely understand what's going on and why they put this in the Bible. But I can tell you that I can, in my own way, understand the man that's paralyzed, the man that doesn't know what to do, the man that is like, wow, how do I handle this now? You know, I was in a mood on Monday because I needed to call the insurance company. You ever been in a mood when you needed to call the insurance company? It just takes a lot of compassion for my own self to say, I'm not feeling great about this. This will be the umpteenth call. Ask the same questions. It's auto insurance. And we can have a little compassion for our own self that we've got a mood going on with the insurance company or, whatever we need to deal with. Find another quote for the paint because the paint prices have doubled the last time we painted it. It's going to cost more money. All this stuff, right, is stressful. So we find our way to create some compassion for ourselves. I did a little heart coherence. Do you know what that means? It's a heart math now that's really helping us understand this, that we can move the mind and be in sync with the heart. Because when the mind is all active up there, it's like a mob. Like every single year this insurance company doesn't get it, that they're supposed to send something over to the mortgage company, and then we end up calling the mortgage, they can't get a hold of us saying that we are not insured, and we go through this every year. I got an attitude. But heart coherence is when we get the mind into the heart, thinking into the heart. And it's really not very difficult. You can just think about somebody you love right now and that you care about. That's what I did. I just got my mind to go to a place that's just, wow, unstuck. Unstuck. Think about something right now. I tell you, wait, we can just have pictures up here right and left of creatures and nature. And we would feel it, wouldn't we? Anybody see all those geese over here by the apartments? That little turkey pop out at me. We just get unstuck like that. But we can be intentional about it. We can move in. Sounds like Jesus moving to this man who's laying down and is suffering and is hurting. And he goes to the person that maybe was being neglected. We can go to somebody we care about. We can do that actually before we call an insurance company, or you go through the local paper and you say, okay, Doc, yeah, here we go. Pick up my mood and walk. So what I want you to remember from this message today. We can pick up the mood and we can walk. We can pick up ourselves and we can go forward. And we have all the tools that we require to do it. And it is healing. It puts us back together to realize that like the man, we are not at the whim of something in the outer. We're not dependent on somebody doing something to us to know our wholeness. Our wholeness is already assured. And I found a new painter just like that. The house is already painted. I want you to know that yesterday when I was leaving Livingston, I was telling Matthew, I will never go to Florida again. Because I was studying a few things for you today. I want you to know I want to revise that with the universe. John Lewis inspired me this morning to remember when we get up and walk, and we can walk and cross that bridge. We can use prayer and meditation, and we can restore ourselves in wholeness. So we come to that learn shop this afternoon. After we have some wonderful salads. Begin to really understand what that means in meditation, how to work with our energies, and we can pick up our needs and we can walk forward. Now I want to finish just sharing with you, what is this really? When we talk about working with that which we call God. What is this power that's at working, it's always at work? Because in that passage of John, Jesus says something to the mob. Jesus said, my Father is working always, including on Sabbath. That was the parentheses it didn't include. My Father is working always, and I am working still. He knew, as we must know, that today and every day to go into our consciousness to do the work within, to go to the place of mercy, to go to the place of compassion that this little story is holding up. To know, as Jesus did, the revolutionary understanding of God, to call God Father, and to be able to say, I can only do the will of the one that sent me. I am made in the image and after the likeness of God, which is oneness and interdependence. I can only truly do that will. And you'll say to me later, Kathy, what about those children suffering, starving? Yeah, they're on our minds and hearts for a reason right now. That we will be moved to address injustice. And can we do that? Can we go into the fray? Yes, we can. Here's what Joel Goldsmith says with one of my favorite passages to calm my heart. And it's the 23rd Psalm. I'm sure you know this. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, restores my soul, leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Joel says, observe, all the way through there is no attempt in this prayer to gain God's favor. No attempt to see God's goodness. No attempt in any way to reach out for God, but just this constant, confident assurance. Yes, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. This is truly a miracle of a prayer, says Joel, as you have experienced trials and periods of tribulation, serious illness, family troubles, lack, temptation, loss of fortune. Has it not seemed natural to feel that somehow you had been separated from God? In some manner you had slipped away from God? For some reason God was not with you, and thus, having lost contact, you must now get back to God? Now, let us see the error of our thinking. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Even as he walks through the valley, even as you and I walk, pick up our moods, pick up our mats, even as we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, he cannot fear. We touch a valley of the shadow of death, or lack, or limitation, or unemployment, or whatever it is. And we may begin to fear, but this fear begins for only one reason: lack of the full realization that God is going through the valley with us. So friends, we can pick up our mood, we can pick up our opinions, we can pick up our dreams, our hopes, and our faithful conviction that there is a greater world, a greater good, a peace that is ours. And we are not alone, we are together, and we can say, thou art with me. Everything's in divine right order. And our brain, our consciousness, our willingness to pick up that mat, pick up that mood, and walk. And so as we surround the gifts that we have to give, to share here today, which includes our presence, right? And we know this also includes our gift of finances. And maybe some of you have given already this month, some of you give on a regular basis, using that wonderful donate button. But let's be in the now, knowing that there is no lack in the now. And let's surround and enfold those gifts with a consciousness that is one of walking forward. We have a love offering blessing. Divine love through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give joyfully and easily, for the universe is my source, and